Welcome to Lunch with the Lord, and I'm Pastor Mark. We will be beginning in 2 Peter chapter 2 and starting at verse 17. But before we do, Jeremiah 15:16, Thy words were found, and I did eat them. And thy word was unto me the joy and rejoicing of my heart. Now, in verse 17, remember, Peter is continuing to talk about these false teachers, false prophets. And he says here, these are wells without water, clouds that are carried with the tempest, to whom the midst of darkness is reserved forever. For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lusts of the flesh, through much wantonness, those that were clean escaped from them who live in error. And in verse 17 here, he says, they are wells without water, clouds that are carried with a tempest. Now, in 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 5, describing what people will be like on earth in the last days, Paul writes to Timothy, and he says this. He says, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. So Paul is writing to Timothy, and he's saying, Timothy, listen, he says, in the last days, just before Jesus comes, there will be people that have a form of godliness, but they deny the power of it. They deny it with their words, they deny it with their mind, and they deny it in their life. But they have a form of godliness. And in the last days, some people will appear to be godly, appear to be spiritual, but in reality, they won't be. Okay? They won't be. And this is what Peter is telling these readers here of Asia Minor. It says here, these are wells without water. And wells without water. Oh, look, there's a well over there. We can finally get water and strengthen our bodies and feed our cattle and water our gardens, right? But then when you finally get there, you find out that there's no life-giving water in the well. It's dry, okay? They are wells without water, clouds that are carried with a tempest. Look in the sky. There's clouds coming, right? That means we're going to get the rain that we need for the crops, the rain that we need for the corn and for the tomatoes, and we'll have food to live on for a long time. Look, here they come. They're coming now. Oh no. There they go. Where's the rain? Oh, bye. There it goes. And no rain comes. No rain comes. But the clouds blow over and are empty of the life-giving water that they should have given, right? They're like a well that looks like it has life-giving water in it, but there's none. They're like clouds that come over, and when you need water for your crops, you get excited and you think this is great. Here comes life. But they blow over and they give you nothing. And the reason why they give you nothing is because they have nothing. They don't have anything. And so also were these false prophets, these false teachers. There's no spiritual life in them to give to anybody, to benefit anybody. They can't benefit you. They're not going to cause you to draw close to God because they're not close to God. They don't have what it takes within them. So in verse 17, Peter's describing them, and he's saying, these are wells without water. They're clouds. These false teachers are like clouds that are carried with a tempest, to whom the midst of darkness is reserved forever. Verse 18, for when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lusts of the flesh, through much wantonness, those that were clean escaped from them, who live in error. And vanity, it says, when they speak great swelling words of vanity, it means, vanity here means empty words. It means they say a lot, but at the same time, they're saying nothing. They speak a lot of glorious, wonderful, spine-tingling words, but in the end, they've said nothing. It doesn't benefit you at all as a Christian. It doesn't make you want to live by faith. Their words don't profit you at all. And it says here, they speak great swelling words of vanity, through the lusts of the flesh, through much wantonness, those that were clean escaped from them who live in error. Those that were clean escaped. Clean escaped here, clean means to just barely escape. Just barely. And escaped here is in the present tense. Now this is important because it means they are in an ongoing process of escaping. They haven't escaped yet. It means they are escaping. So they are just barely, they're at the very beginning of escaping. Okay? So he says here, those that were clean escape, those that are in the process of escaping. Okay? So these two Greek words are describing a person who is beginning to lean toward God and His Word, but he has not yet fully committed himself to God yet. Then the false teachers come by with their false teachings, and they cause them to return to their old ways. Have you ever known someone in your lifetime who was beginning to turn towards God? Maybe they attended a Bible study a few times. Maybe they started going to church, and you were shocked. You thought, "Wow, I thought that person would ever go to church." But they started going. Maybe there's somebody at work, and they began asking you inquisitive questions about God, about the Bible, and and you could tell in their face. You could tell that they were sincere in their asking. It wasn't just mocking or anything. It was sincere. They were asking. And you didn't ask why, but you knew that God was working in their heart, drawing them to Him. And they were at this beginning state. And this is what this is what Peter is saying here. These people are beginning to get close to God. They're beginning to draw to Him, to give their hearts to Him, but they haven't given it yet. They haven't yet committed their life to the Lord. And then along comes somebody. Here, it's the false teachers. But in life, at work, it could be your boss. It could be another co-worker. It could be somebody at school. If you're going to school, it could be wherever. And they come along and whew, gone. All of a sudden, they infect these people and they prevent them from going any farther, closer to the Lord. And these people are drawn back to their old ways. Maybe somebody comes up to them and mocks them. "Oh, are you interested in the Bible? Really? You?" And it causes this person to step back in fear. And instead they get ashamed. They're embarrassed and they turn back to their old ways. They don't give their life to Christ. They haven't committed their life to the Lord yet. And that's what these false teachers are. That's what they're saying, is they come in with their teachings and they cause people to get close to those that are getting close to the Lord to draw right back, go back to their old sinful ways. Verse 19, while they promise them liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption. For of whom a man is overcome, of the same is he brought in bondage. And he says here, while they promise them liberty, you know, true liberty is only through Christ. John 8:36, if the Son therefore shall make you free, you shall be free indeed. You know, liberty, true liberty. I don't mean liberty from this world, getting out of prison or getting out of some kind of bondage from this world. That's nothing. Because real bondage is being in bondage to yourself, to your sin, to your selfishness, to covetousness, to whatever weakness you have, adulterous heart, whatever. That's the real bondage. Just because you're able to walk free on this earth doesn't mean you're really free. You're in bondage to something. Liberty is when we humble ourselves to God and to His Word, and He comes in and makes us a new man or a new woman, new creature, sets us free. Romans chapter 7, verse 24, O wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from the body of this death? Paul said, I'm in bondage. I'm free to walk around wherever I go, but I'm in bondage to death. And that's what people are. People get in bondage to sin. They can't help but sin, like they would with Balaam. Balaam was the Bible says that Balaam was mad in his covetousness. He was in madness. He was obsessed with his covetousness. He was in bondage to it. And when people are in bondage to some kind of sin or vice. And he says, while they promise them liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption, of whom, right? Why? Because they're in bondage to that corruption. They're in bondage to the sin. And they promise them liberty. Oh, Jesus will set you free, or something will set you free, and yet they themselves are a bondage to some kind of sin. All right? And for of whom a man is overcome, of the same is he brought in bondage. And we'll finish that verse next lesson. All right? Remember, walk with the Lord. I know He walks with you.